JJ Harty. I'm 48 and I am from Rathdrum, Idaho. And my position at WSU is a fine arts engineering technician. Most of my time is spent helping students, getting projects ready. Get here at 8 o'clock in the morning, get the shop ready. We usually have classes that are running while I'm running the shop.
Well, JJ is in charge of monitoring the shops for the department. Those are predominantly sculpture area kind of based things. So he manages all kinds of equipment and helps students solve problems to making their sculptures.
I do a lot of 3D work with a CNC machine. Some of it's making pedestals or making frames for pictures. What I like the most is making tops. It's like spinning tops.
Well, JJ is an incredibly generous soul. He will do anything for almost anyone as far as bending over backwards to help them figure out and solve some problems. My memory of him has always been that generosity. Like he'll make artwork or things and give it to people. He did a whole project with tops, and he would give them away to people if they would let them take a picture of it in his hand.
So my favorite piece of artwork that I created is a bronze that was an installation piece installed in a sidewalk.
Yeah, JJ was doing these projects in grad school that were pretty interesting, where he'd go and he'd find places where the sidewalk was broken, and he'd fly to that place, Denver, outside the Denver Art Museum.
And then I took a mold of those broken spaces, I filled it with clay, and then I brought that piece of clay back, and then I made took molds off of it, and then created a bronze positive that then I went and put back and glued into the curb.
And then he'd sit back and watch if people noticed, and it was pretty interesting way to kind of approach public art and think about creating that nuanced moment for somebody to discover. He's a clever fellow. There's a few around the building. If you look, you can find them. I think there's one downstairs by the elevator.
I worked a lot of jobs that I hated, in my life. Just working as a janitor. I didn't really hate the janitor, but I didn't like it. As a security guard, I did all these things. I have this philosophy that, sure, it's great to have a job and make money, but I'd rather have a job and at least enjoy what I'm doing. When I go to work, I don't ever feel like I don't want to go to work. And well, maybe sometimes, Fridays are hard. It was about doing something that I like to do, and making art is something that I really love to do. So it made sense to pursue a career where I was working as an artist or working with other people that were making art.
JJ's a fantastic artist. He's really thoughtful about what he's doing. Currently he's working a lot with kind of forgotten objects, or objects that are unused but beautiful somehow. He disassembles them and then figures out a way to orient them as separated from themselves, so you see them as an objective object.
I knew him while I was a grad student here, and then I became a co-worker with him after I graduated. Occasionally we'll work on projects around the building together. In the art projects he creates, he's a very creative and detail-oriented person. He cares a lot about the work he's doing and about the people that he's working with.
I think working with students individually is inspiring in its own way. Sometimes you have the realization, oh, this thing that I did a year ago, now I know how to make that thing because I helped this student fix theirs. So it leads you to resolve your own issues and problems that you're working through in your own work. And I think being in this environment, a very creative environment where people are trying to think outside of the box, they're trying to make something that no one's ever made before, which is a very difficult thing to do. It inspires you to work harder on your own ideas. So yeah, a lot of times it becomes a collaboration. So when I was in graduate school, we were talking about space, and a lot of my work deals with space, like the space that an object inhabits, or references negative space. And I had this epiphany when I was in grad school. And someone had said, what about the negative space of the chair? That I was going to take a wooden chair, I screwed boards onto the legs, and then turned it upside down. It became like a little vessel. And then I poured plaster inside of the chair. And then I broke the chair off of it, and it had this mold underside of a chair. I thought it was a genius. I thought, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is make molds of the negative space of a chair. And so when you're in graduate school, every faculty member in the department comes through and looks at your work and gives a critique on your work. And so I had this thing sitting in the middle. I was all proud of this and thought it was amazing. And all of these professors start coming in and they go, oh, you should look at Rachel Whiteread. You should look at Bruce Nauman, Rachel Whiteread. Every single one mentioned those two artists. Well, evidently, I was not the first person to come up with that idea. So it did two things. It made me realize that it's really difficult to have an original idea. There's so much that has been done. But it didn't discourage me, which was good. What it did is it pushed me in another direction, and I found that thing that was mine.
To yourself, in your career or in your life?
Oh boy, my future goals. I usually keep that a secret.